Did you know that over 60% of travelers have encountered something on the road they'll never forget? Something that left them questioning reality. What would you do if the road behind you suddenly became dangerous, silent, or alive? Tonight, we're diving into 3 true road trip horror stories that will keep you up at night. Road trips are supposed to be fun, adventurous, unforgettable. But sometimes, the thrill takes a dark turn. From sudden disappearances to chilling encounters on empty highways, these stories prove that the open road can hide more than just scenic views. You're about to experience 3 terrifying tales that will haunt your travels forever. Think about it. When you're far from home, the road seems endless. You're isolated, vulnerable, and sometimes completely alone. Flat tires in the middle of nowhere, strange hitchhikers, unexpected accidents, even the smallest choice, like taking a shortcut, can spiral into a nightmare. These stories aren't just scary, they're real, and they remind us that the road isn't always a safe place. Now that we've set the stage, it's time to meet the first traveler. Someone who thought this road trip would be just another adventure. But what happened next would change everything. Our first story takes us to a road that has terrified travelers for decades, Balit Drive in Quezon City. They say, if you drive down this road at midnight, never look in your rearview mirror. Most people laugh it off, but for some, the road has a mind of its own. One night, a young taxi driver, Ricardo, was finishing his shift. The streets were eerily quiet, the kind of silence that makes every sound feel amplified. Suddenly, he saw her, a young woman dressed in white, standing by the side of the road, thumb out, asking for a ride. At first, he hesitated. Something about her made him uneasy, but as a driver, he couldn't just leave her there. He stopped. She climbed into the back seat, silent, staring straight ahead. Her pale face was almost unreal. As he drove, Ricardo tried to make conversation, but she didn't respond. The only sound was the hum of the engine and the occasional rustle of leaves outside. Something about her gaze made him shiver. It was empty, like staring into a void. He glanced at the rearview mirror and froze. Her reflection wasn't there. Not her body, not her face. Nothing. Just darkness. Ricardo blinked, thinking he must be imagining things. But when he looked again, the seat was empty. The car was silent, yet he could still feel her presence, as if she was breathing right behind him. Panic surged through him. He slammed on the brakes, turned the car around. But the street was empty. No sign of her. No footprints, nothing. The chill in the air was suffocating. He drove the rest of the way home, hands shaking, mind racing, wondering what had just happened. The next day, Ricardo couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He went back to the same street in daylight, looking for clues. That's when he found it. A single damp footprint pressed into the soil at the exact spot where he had picked her up, but no tire marks. The ground had been untouched otherwise. It was as if she had simply appeared and vanished. Terrified, he asked locals about the woman in white. They told him the story of a girl who had died in a car accident on that road years ago, always appearing to drivers late at night. Some say she's looking for a ride home. Others say she's trapped, doomed to wander the road forever, seeking someone to join her for eternity. Ricardo never drove Balit Drive alone again, and to this day, he refuses to look in the rearview mirror at night. This story reminds us that the road can hold secrets no map can reveal, and that sometimes the people, our spirits you encounter, are not always what they seem. But this is just the beginning, because our next tale proves that the road can be far more terrifying than we ever imagined. Our next story takes place on a lonely stretch of highway, far from city lights. For many travelers, stopping at a rest area is a relief, a chance to stretch, grab food, or refuel. But for Jessica and her friends, one such stop would become their worst nightmare. It was late and the trio had been driving for hours. Tired and anxious to reach their destination, they spotted a small rest stop tucked between the trees. The lights were dim, flickering, but they didn't hesitate. They parked, grabbed their bags, and stepped out, unaware that this stop held a secret no traveler should ever discover. As they entered the rest area, the air felt unnaturally cold. The vending machines hummed softly, but nothing else moved. No cars, no people, just them. Jessica's friend, Mark, joked nervously, "Looks like we've got the place to ourselves." But there was no laughter in their voices, only a growing sense of unease. They decided to use the restroom, splitting up for a few minutes. Jessica entered, and the door creaked shut behind her. Seconds later, she heard a faint whisper calling her name. She froze. "Must be my imagination," she thought, shaking it off. But when she opened the door to leave, the hallway stretched farther than it should have, twisting impossibly, as if the building had grown while she was inside. Panicking, she ran outside, but her friends were gone. The car they had parked was nowhere to be seen. The rest stop looked normal again, as if no one had ever been there. Jessica's heart raced as she screamed for them, her voice swallowed by the night. Hours seemed to pass in moments. Jessica wandered, trying to find the road, but every turn led her back to the rest stop. That's when she saw it, a figure standing under the flickering light. At first, she thought it was Mark, but as she approached, the figure slowly turned, revealing a face pale, hollow, and distorted beyond recognition. Frozen in terror, Jessica stumbled backward. The figure whispered in a voice that sounded like all three of her friends combined, "You shouldn't have come here." Before she could react, a cold gust of wind pushed her to the ground, and everything went black. When Jessica awoke, the sun was rising. She was lying on the shoulder of the highway, miles away from the rest stop. Her car and friends were gone. She ran to the nearest town, but when she returned with authorities, the rest stop was gone, completely vanished, leaving no trace that it had ever existed. Locals told her stories of travelers who had stopped at that rest area and were never seen again. Some say it appears only to those who are meant to face it, a phantom trap for the weary, the curious, and the unlucky. Jessica never went on a road trip at night again, and even years later, she could still hear the faint whispers in the wind whenever she passed a lonely highway, warning her, or perhaps laughing at the foolishness of those who dared to stop. Some roads hide secrets that no map can reveal, and some places exist only to test your courage or your sanity. But don't relax just yet. Our final story will take us even deeper into the terror that lurks behind seemingly normal journeys. Our final story takes place on a highway far from any city lights, where travelers often report strange sightings, but few live to tell the tale. For Miguel, a seasoned truck driver, the road was just part of his job, until one night changed everything. Miguel had been driving through the mountains, delivering supplies to a distant town. The night was quiet, except for the hum of his truck and the occasional rustle of wind. As he rounded a bend, he saw a line of headlights ahead, several trucks driving unusually close together. At first, it seemed normal, but something about the way they moved unnerved him. He tried to pass, but the vehicles mirrored every maneuver he made, maintaining perfect alignment. Their engines were silent, yet he could hear a faint whispering over the wind. a chorus of voices calling his name. Miguel accelerated, trying to break away, but the convoy followed relentlessly. Panic set in. His heart raced as he realized the trucks weren't just following. Some had no drivers at all. He could see faint, ghostly figures behind the wheel, pale faces staring straight ahead, eyes empty and hollow. Every exit he took led him back to the same stretch of road. The trucks were everywhere, surrounding him, moving faster than any normal vehicle should. He tried calling for help on his radio, but it was dead. No signal, no response, just static and faint whispers, growing louder, urging him to join them. Desperate, Miguel swerved off the road into a clearing, hoping to hide, to escape. But the convoy stopped at the edge of the trees, headlights cutting through the mist like cold knives. One of the trucks slowly moved forward, almost gliding, its engine silent, its driver, a ghastly figure, waving him forward with a skeletal hand. Frozen in terror, Miguel felt a strange pull, as if the road itself was alive, dragging him toward the convoy. He fought the urge to move, but the whispers became screams, echoing in his skull. "Join us! Forever!" He slammed the truck into reverse, heart pounding, mind screaming, and drove like a man possessed. Hours later, Miguel found himself on a familiar road, daylight breaking over the horizon. The convoy had vanished. No trucks, no figures, nothing. Only tire tracks leading nowhere, fading into the morning mist. He never drove that route again, and whenever he passes a long, empty highway at night, he can't shake the feeling that the convoy is still out there, waiting for its next traveler. Some say these ghostly trucks belong to drivers who were lost long ago, cursed to roam the roads for eternity. Others believe the highway itself chooses who will face them. One thing is certain, Miguel survived, but the memory and the terror follows him to this day. 3 terrifying road trip stories, 3 glimpses into the dark side of the open road. Remember, every journey can hold secrets you weren't meant to discover. Have you ever had a road trip that went horribly wrong? Share your story in the comments below. We might feature it in our next video. And if you want more spine-chilling tales, check out our other videos. But be warned, the road is never as safe as it seems.